This talk is at Joined In, so you guys can join the conversation at Joined In. That's the URL. It's Joined In 10380, so you could join the conversation there. There's commenting and some little detail and description of this talk. So thank you for coming, everybody. My name is John La. I am the Director of Technology at Funny Garbage. We are a full-service digital studio based in Midtown Manhattan. We do a lot of digital creative work. We do it mostly for media companies and also with a mix of institutions and government. And we've been in business for over 17 years now, and I've been at Funny Garbage for almost 7 of those years. So like I said, we do a lot of some pretty good. We work with some pretty good companies, mostly in the media world, but also a lot of institutions, some nonprofits, and some government organizations as well. So the presentations have been really great so far. I'm really excited and pumped to start using Symfony. So I hope, I think everybody else is too. But there's still a business reality that we all need to face, which is that we need a client with a Symfony project for us to work on. So I'm here today to talk about selling Symfony through to your client. We at Funny Garbage have been around for a little while now. When we first started, we built websites in static HTML, just doing static HTML pages. For a time, we actually had shared a 56K connection for the entire office. So it's been a long time. A lot has changed since then. Since then, we've seen Web 2.0. But now everything is database-driven. All content is now managed in CMSs. There's social integration with everything. Users no longer they no longer consume content on the desktop or laptop anymore. It's all about the smartphones and the tablets. There was a recent report showing that 28% of web traffic come from mobile devices, and that was only for the last quarter of this year. So everything's changing really fast, and we've been through it all, and things are continuing to change. Now we're starting to see wearable technology with like smartwatches and also like a Google Glass, which I happen to have right here. Okay, Glass. Take a picture. So there you go, and I could just share right away. But since we've been around for a long time, we have a really good sense of what is the right tool, what the right tool is for the right job. But oftentimes when you do a lot of client work, it's not that simple. A lot of times clients come to us with a solution already identified. And oftentimes they'll come to us and they'll say they want something, but usually it's based on an article they might have read online, or maybe you have a friend who's in technology and they'll come and tell us this is what we need. But sometimes we find that what they are asking for is not necessarily what they actually need. So there's sort of a process. So I'm here to really talk about how do we convince our clients that Symfony is the right option for them. So oftentimes our clients they'll come to us and they'll say they'll need something, but we'll find that they have a very specific business need. They'll have very specific, say, technology they need to use. They need a certain platform. They need a certain language. So they have something very, very specific user workflow. And with a lot of these out-of-the-box solutions, for example, I'm just going to throw this out there, like Drupal. If a client has that specific need and they need like modifications to that user flow, it could become really painful for us to go in there and then make that modification. And we find that a lot of times these projects, Symfony would make the most sense. So how do we do that? We believe that pitching is a process, and it really starts at the very first day. So as soon as you're in contact with your clients, that's really the time your pitch really starts. So it's not so much as a pitch where you start and end with one meeting, that pitch meeting, or a phone call you might get from a potential client, where they'll just tell you what you want, and then you just throw them an estimate, and then you either hear from them or you don't. It should be more than that. There should be a process involved. And it's really to build up to the actual pitch. So the way we see it is that by the time you actually get to that pitch meeting, the meeting where you actually will talk more specifics, you're really there to seal the deal more so than actually pitching. So it's really, you're building up to that. It's a much larger process. And we found that that by doing that, you're adding a lot more value to what you're offering. So, and it's not just selling, but it's also building trust and gaining relationships. You're really increasing the amount of interactions and touch points with your client, and that way you build this relationship. You have an opportunity to build trust, and that's where we go from. So for the first step that we see is that you have to build your credibility. So basically, you have to create a foundation for you from where you speak from. So you have to create the stage before you start offering your opinions, because they need to really respect your opinion and your expertise. So we have Funny Garbage. A great way to build credibility is to show case studies. So we have Funny Garbage. We've been lucky enough where we have worked with some high-profile Symfony projects. So these are some Symfony projects that we have worked on pretty recently. We did usmagazine.com. It is, so you know what a Fortune 500 company is. Us Magazine would be a web traffic 200 company in the U.S. So it's maybe it's not very. Many of you might not have heard of it in Europe, but then in the United States, it's a pretty big site. Even worldwide, it's still ranked in the top 800. So it's still a pretty big deal. And all these sites here, they are very content heavy. They're very deep sites, and they get tons of traffic. So and they also have a lot of social integration. So. We're lucky enough we have this. That way we can we have a lot to pull from to build a case and to show that we know what we're talking about, and we can pull from different places to emphasize the right things for that specific client. We also did the School of Visual Arts website, and that's a design school in New York City. It's also a pretty deep school. If you've ever seen any college websites, you would realize that there's a lot of it could be quite complex with all the different types of programs they have and all the different types of content they need to serve. And finally, StarTrek.com. Have any of you guys here have heard of StarTrek.com? Anybody here? Yeah. Yeah. So, So we did the StarTrek.com website, and obviously it was a pretty big deal. It was a great high-profile client and customer. And we've got to experience a lot of things with them. Since we launched with them, they've launched a movie, they got a Google Doodle. So we've got a chance to see a lot of different things and see what Symfony can do under a lot of stress, and it worked out really well. So what do you do if you don't have? We sort of happen to have these clients, but before that. Before we had these specific high-profile portfolio, we have a strong portfolio now. But before that, what we do is that we have to just show some successes. So really, if you don't, if your portfolio isn't really there yet, you can still show a lot of successes with non-Symfony projects. So you don't necessarily have to show a Symfony project, because really what you want to do is you want to demonstrate your capabilities. And building a Symfony project and a website is much more than just doing Symfony, as all of us know. Building a site still also involves doing a lot of it requires a lot of competency in JavaScript, in CSS, in HTML, and there's a lot more to it than just simply Symfony. So Symfony is a major part of it, but then there's also much more to that, and it's really good to demonstrate that to the client and build their confidence about that. And you don't have to show necessarily just client projects. You could also show off your internal tools, or if you have any internal projects, or these side projects that you do. It would also be great to show that off as well. So that's also a good place for you to pull from. And I also wanted to emphasize that, I also want to bring up that you want to emphasize just the relevant parts to your client. Every client is different, so you really need to make sure that you're not talking about something where maybe you're very, very proud of it, but ultimately you need to just talk about what they care about. So you might have created a great batch script management system, but really if they're not doing that, they actually don't really care. So you really just need to emphasize the parts that are relevant to the project that they are asking for. So additionally, you can also show a lot of leadership by thought leadership. By you could attend speaking at conferences like this. You could also write books. You can author your own open source projects. Be a code contributor. Nothing really shows what a Symphony expert you are than being an actual contributor to the Symphony core project. You also use social media, writing blogs and articles, tweeting. So there's still a lot you could do as far as being active in the community, just to show and raise your profile. So, if they see your name is out there, answering questions on forums, on and opening tickets, or maybe you're the author or contributor of a major plugin or module, then yeah, so that all builds your case that you are an expert. Same thing as getting Symfony certified. So this seems like a pretty good deal as well. They're doing it on this Saturday. I also wanted to bring up that I noticed this, and I think this is a great opportunity. And it seems like this is something that Symfony and Sensio Labs is looking to actively do. So, and Fabienne had alluded to this, that they were creating this aggregate of different blogs. So there's an option I see that you can add your own blog for. So you could have your blog articles syndicated to the Symfony site, and that really does sort of have Sensio Labs and Symfony implicitly co-sign that you are a Symfony expert, because they will see that your thoughts and your words are on the Symfony's actual website. So that seems like a major opportunity to me. I would definitely look into that. So now that we have sort of built credibility, and we have had a chance to sort of build your credibility, is it time for us to pitch it? Well, not yet. We're still missing a major piece. We've told, at this point, we've already told them all about us. We really built our case around ourselves. It's important for us to really know what they're about and what's important to them. So that's like sort of a really major piece of client discovery. And it's really important to have a deep understanding of the client, what they do, figuring out where their current pain points are, and just figuring out what the business model is, understanding their clients, understanding their competitors, understanding who their customers are. That's really important for you to really properly form your pitch. And also shows, once again, it really shows that you have a really good understanding of what they do, and once again, it also adds more integration points, more touch points. Really helps bring them into your system and show them, how organized you are and how you do business. Essentially, it's almost as though you're already starting the project. So by the time you walk into the pitch meeting, and they're ready to make that decision, they already feel like this project has already started. The biggest hurdle that we have at this point of the project early on is that the clients, the basic underlying emotion they have right now is fear. They have a lot of uncertainty. They're struggling with trying to figure out what their actual project should be. They're trying to figure out what the scope is. They're really trying to figure out who the right partners are. they really want to, they have fear of getting things done on time and on budget. So really, our goal really is all about reducing that fear and building their confidence in us that we, you're there to hold their hand. You're experts. You've done this before, and you just want to show that they have nothing to worry about. And there's this, so this is a journey that this client needs to take. They need to figure out really what this project is, and oftentimes, like I said earlier, they might come to us with an opinion that maybe they want a certain thing, but then you need to really they really need to take the time to let all the knowledge sink in. They need to really sort of explore all the different options and let it go to all the dead ends themselves. So maybe for you, it might be obvious that Symfony is definitely the right choice. Then but at the same time, you really do need to take time. You need to allow the client to just sort of go through this journey and then end up there. So really, it's great. It's a really great opportunity because by you being the one to sort of educate the client and then sort of walk them through all the different options and the reasons why things are the right the right thing. It really positions yourself to be the right partner for them. So really, when the client's sort of creating, trying to figure out what this project's going to be like, if you're the one to help them form that, you're really positioning yourself to be the right partner for them. Because at the same time, they are shopping around and looking for somebody to give them what they need. Excuse me. So at this point, once you do your discovery, you are ready to start planning your pitch. So that's also another major step you need to do, and it is a sort of a time, there's a bigger investment of time. So I really propose you guys just making that time to create and build a pitch, a customized pitch, so that rather than say on the phone just throwing estimates out and just leaving it at that, to properly form this, that's where you really add value to your the services that you're providing. So we came up with something that I call the S's, the 3 S's of selling Symfony. That's a lot of S's. And first thing is to seek solutions. So really, this is 3 S's really on the technical side, which is for you as a technology person, these are probably there's more steps to do, but then as far as for a person who is more technical, these are the more relevant ones. So you want to seek solutions first. You want to what seeking solutions means is you're doing your research and figuring out what is the right solution for them. What's the most elegant solution? You're identifying the right frameworks, the right APIs you need to use, and sort of building out what their actual scope of this is going to be. The actual how of doing this. The other S is satisfy specifications. So oftentimes the clients come to us with an RFP. So with this RFP, with a request for proposal. So then when we answer the RFP, request for proposal, with an actual proposal, we want to make sure that we're actually hitting all the different specifications. So it's a pretty common mistake to simply think that some certain specification is obvious and you don't actually point it out. So it's really important to just reiterate yourself and just restate exactly what they said. They want to have commenting, maybe, even though it's like obvious, you might say social integration, you should reiterate exactly as they specify in their RFP. So it's really just spitting back out to them and spitting back out to them that you heard them and you're not ignoring that specific piece. The third S we call the special sauce, and that's something I think we do really well in Funny Garbage. That's really about creating this sort of extra feature. So is this sort of going the extra mile, or sort of proposing and offering additional features that are complementary to the system that they're looking for. So, it might not be apparent to them, but then there might be certain other say low-hanging fruit, or maybe certain holes that are in their RFP, in their project plan, that is not being covered, and you, with your own experience, then you would know that, well, it would make a lot of sense if you were to have some sort of social login or whatever it is, extra feature that's sort of easy to put in. And really, the special sauce is all about getting yourself to stand out in the crowd, because then they are looking for this, and really just you want to be able to capture the imagination. But this is also at the same time, you don't want to oversell your special sauce, because then you really need to answer to the RFP that they want. So you don't want to spend too much time, and you don't want to offer a special sauce that sort of feels like it's a disconnected part of this project. So it needs to feel like it belongs. It's like it's a very natural piece that, oh yeah, totally, this definitely belongs with this project. So you have to just make sure you keep that in mind as well. So to keep in mind, I just wanted to bring up also that when you're planning your pitch, there's really one major thing that is universal across clients as well, which is that they want to look good. So that's really like, no matter where they are, no matter what industry they are, no matter what standing they are in the company, there's really that major thing, which is that they want to make sure that they want to be presented well to the boss, because whoever the ultimate decision makers are, they need to make sure that that they are doing their due diligence as well. So you want to make sure that you're sort of capturing that and making sure that they understand that you're really catering to that, and you're understanding that this is the underlying emotion, and then this is what you're sort of attending to. All right, so finally, we can pitch Symfony. So when you walk into the Symfony to this pitch, you want to, at this point, you really have already set the tone for the client. They've already, after going through all this whole process, they already have a sense of like the way you work, how organized you are, how you schedule your meetings, what your process is like. You would want to also show that, I show up, you show up for meetings on time. So just sort of that sort of thing. And you just really want to show, at this point, when you're walking in, you're just really there to seal the deal, and you should really feel like you're in total command of this of the situation. And every client is different, so just want to make sure that you're not doing any kind of cookie cutter presentations. It's not good enough to do a find and replace with a client's name. You're not going to have a good time, even if you had a lot of success with that. It would do really well to not do that, resist that, because for one, technology changes rapidly, and every client is very different. So you really need to make sure that everything is up to date, and it really speaks exactly to the project that they are asking for. But you could always use like bits and pieces of an old pitch, so that's okay. But definitely, you want to make sure that it's a completely, fresh presentation for them. And you also want to make your story compelling. So you want to tell your story in a way where the people, the clients listening will really interest them. You want to make that story very sexy. So I mean, if you were to, if I was to pitch Symfony, and I was to say, Symfony is a high-powered, scalable platform to publish your content on highly available network. That sounds great, especially to a tech person. That really hits all the points. But depending on your client, most likely a lot of that's going to go over the head, or it's also very just sort of plain. It's really just a description of what they already do, of what they already know. But if you were to say something like, your users will be able to connect to yourwebsite.com on any device at any time and find your information and product they're looking for. I mean, that's a lot more interesting. That's a lot more compelling. Essentially, you're selling something. You're not just selling a website. You really need to think of it more as sort of like you're selling this experience. Depending on what that project is. If it is like for example, if your client is looking for like an e-commerce site, you're selling them their online business. You're not selling them a website. So, it would do a lot more for you. It adds a lot more value in terms of how they look at it, and then it really lets them sort of respect that, you are building something special and valuable, and they're not looking at just like this thing. And one other thing is that you also might want to think about the design and look of your presentation as well. So it might do really well to hire a designer. So I think that this is probably especially true for a lot of developers. Developers are not good designers. That's for the most part. It's rare for a developer to be a good designer. So it really helps just to really make sure that you're finding you want to project the right image. You don't want an ugly presentation to sort of undermine all that technical thoughtfulness that you put in. And you want to preserve your message. So ultimately, when you talk to your client, they might not be the ultimate decision maker. They might have to answer to another boss, or they might have a partner, somebody else. So even if you knock it out of the park, there's still a lot might be lost in translation. So it's important to make sure that you're not when you're talking. You might just be talking to a messenger, and you want to be able to preserve this message. So it would be great for you to maybe bring packets of information about Symfony, include portfolio links, other case studies that you're talking about, just so that nothing is really going to be missed out by as information is being passed along. It would be really great to follow up that way, and perhaps have a follow up with whoever that decision maker is going to be. That way, you have that close contact, and there's nothing gets lost along the way. Another thing that sort of does really well and helps the client along in seeing you as the right partner and seeing this project being the right with Symfony is to create a prototype. I mean, it is quite an investment in time and money to create one of those, but it might be well worth it. Depending on the client, and prototype would definitely preserve that message in showing what you were talking about. Also, design mockups, which is sort of like a mockup. It's sort of like a prototype, but then it's just sort of just a mockup in design, sort of like a photoshopped image of a site or something. Okay, so that's so just to wrap it up. So really, at the end is we're just really talking about this pitch as being a process. So it's not really so much, just doing the single pitch. It's not one meeting. It's an entire process that leads up to it. So you don't want to, when the client calls, you don't want to just just pick up the phone and have a quick chat with them. You really want to bring them into the process. You really need to resist that, and you want to invest the time. It's really important, and actually will add a lot of value to you. Not only will you be able to get the client that you really want and the job you want, but it also increases how much you can charge, because you're really justifying the cost of what you're doing. Because unless you actually bring the client in on what the process is actually like and educate, bring in part of, make it an education process for the client, they're not going to understand all the different, how much technology, how much work it is to build all the back end to power that. the website. So I mean, they might see the front end, but it's really just sort of like the tip of the iceberg, where there's still a lot more underneath it that really that powers all that. So build a relationship, increase touch points, interactions, help the client out through their journey. Yeah, it's a learning process, and really it's the effort is really justified by what you get at the end, your end result. So thank you. That's all I have. Thank you. So does anybody have any questions? Yes? Yes. We deal a lot with so we do a lot of Symfony. So, but I would say our shop we are more technology agnostic. We also do certain HTML5 gaming. So with a lot of those HTML5 gaming projects, we would throw in if they forgot, if they might not even know about a lot of these new Game Center features that we integrations that we could do. A lot of other social integrations. So things like that, especially with social, because it moves so quickly and it changes so rapidly that the client wouldn't really know unless, we even have a hard time, and we're in the industry. This is what we do every day, and there's always something new coming up with an open graph, like Facebook's open graph protocol is always changing. There's always a new embed service. But yeah, social integrations is sort of like a major thing that we usually can sort of polish up and come up with something that works a little bit better. We've specified, we've done. I mean, for a time there was a lot of ratings. I'm not sure if you guys remember. There was 5-star ratings at the time. We've always pitched certain things like that. Sometimes, there's one example where we had I did pitch, it was for a publishing platform, like a video platform, where they wanted to publish videos, and it was simply just like a CMS, something pretty straightforward, and they wanted to bring it up on a browser, the videos on a browser. We also, as a special sauce, we throw in that we could create an API for their video, and then turn their video platform into this API, this REST API service, and that would allow videos to be served on iPads and mobile devices and Apple TVs. That really brightened up the client size. So sort of that sort of thing really helps, and that was especially when you can when you propose a special sauce that actually can become a revenue stream, a new revenue stream, that really makes a huge difference, because then it's all about money at the end of the day for them. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
How about very conservative clients? Have you ever pitched Symfony against, for example, different solutions?
Well, those are two very different things. I mean, but so the question was, have we ever have conservative clients that where they were doing two different things, like a .NET, and then we want to pitch a Symfony? I would say no, because I mean it's a reality that some clients they're really married to a specific, like they're in a Windows environment, and then they're married to just everything Microsoft. They're in .NET, ASP, so at that point there's really nothing we can do. So yeah, I mean we do explore it. We do ask about it, if they're looking to do an upgrade or update, or if there's any other do they have any other capacity to support other systems. But then if the case is no, then we don't try to force fit Symfony as every solution to everything. But we find that Symfony is a great solution, but it's not the solution for every single project. Yes.
Make sure that what you said is about building an image to be professional. And when I look at your logo, when you look at your name, it doesn't feel
Yes.
behind that.
I,
Do you recall a case when your name and your logo acted against you?
you know, yeah, so the question is, so with Funny Garbage, then our company name Funny Garbage, we've been around for 17 years, and we have bumped into this many times where it might undermine what we're trying to say. The answer is yes, like oftentimes. I mean, but if you look at our clients, a lot of them are media clients. So I wasn't part of that decision, but sometimes we do sort of introduce ourselves as FG, so we FG Incorporated. But it doesn't really bother anyone except for maybe the more corporate clients, the finance companies. But even then, we have done work for them as well. I mean, for the most part, we get most of our business through word of mouth, and because we have somebody vouching for us, so we have this vast experience that we've worked from. We have not really. It hasn't been a major issue, but I'm certain that it has affected us as far as. I mean, that's usually the first reaction everyone has. They're like, "What? What'd you say? Funny garbage? Okay." So yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
How do you pitch rewrite on the proposal versus after we have a project which has become maybe on the table to keep updated? So we actually have to rewrite all project into using favorite position. But if we pitch that to a client to invest all the time, all the money to end up with exactly the same product,
Mm-hmm.
only very sustainable. How do you pitch?
Well, we actually are doing one of those projects right now, and really, you really need to show for us what really works. I mean, at the end of the day, they want to look at the bottom line and they want to justify the cost somehow, and you could sort of do that. It's really hard to quantify like how much costs something is, the cost of maintenance of something is. So it is a big challenge, but a lot of times we would have to just try to quantify it in some way where they would get a lot of, say, future extendability, future flexibility, and you would still have to try to put together some sort of cost that if you don't, this is the cost of you not changing, and this is the cost of you making this change. You either lose, you would lose some opportunities in the future. You're not able to do certain things. I mean, you have to understand what their pain points are. There must be some sort of pain in an old system before so basically, you want to be able to sell that they risk being outdated, being left behind. Maybe the solution they're using no longer has an active community in it. There's a lot of security updates. There's performance, and ultimately, without an active community backing up a project, it really quickly gets stale. I mean, the decay of a project is really fast, especially in the next 5 years. Symphony 2 is going to be way old and way long gone. So you have to move to the next version because this pace of technologies is so quick. So, I mean, I would. You still at the end of the day have to quantify it in like certain numbers. So it's a hard sell, but it's a challenge. Yeah, you would show what it takes to maintain an old platform. You have to show maybe certain security risks that because it's no longer maintained, then there are going to be just holes in your security, and what are you going to do about it? Do you want to risk a breach in security? I mean, that things like that can really like I said in the pitch, there is an underlying fear, and you could sort of play to that. And if you build that up a little bit on the legacy system, that could really go to your advantage as far as play up the fear on the old system. And it's a valid thing. It's not a lie or anything. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you. This slide is available. I already put the slides up on our website, so you can find and download it from there. All right, thank you, everybody.